In the dusty village of Kafue, nestled in the heart of Zambia, a group of teenagers gathered under the shade of a mango tree. The air was thick with the aroma of ripe mangoes, and the sound of crickets filled the atmosphere. Among the group was Kofi, a mischievous 17-year-old with a keen sense of humor, and his friends, Isaac, the tall and gangly kid always lost in thought, and Mwansa, the quiet one with a sharp tongue. It was a Saturday afternoon, and the sun blazed overhead. The village school had just broken up for the day, and the boys were taking their usual rest under the cool shade. Kofi, never one to miss a chance to stir things up, was lounging on his back, staring at the sky when he suddenly burst into laughter. "What's so funny now, Kofi?" Isaac asked, raising an eyebrow. Isaac was the kind of guy who always wanted to know the cause of laughter but wasn't always quick to laugh himself. "Nothing. Just thinking about how easy it is to say something and how hard it is to do it," Kofi said with a sly grin. Mwansa, who had been quietly sipping his water from a gourd, frowned. "What do you mean?" he asked. Kofi sat up and adjusted his cap, looking around with a mischievous glint in his eyes. "Well, let me put it like this," Kofi started, his voice lowering to a more serious tone. "You know the old saying, it takes a lot of carefulness to kill the fly that perches on the scrotum." Isaac looked confused, and Mwansa just stared at Kofi, not sure if he should take him seriously. "Yeah, I've heard it," Isaac said slowly. "But it sounds like something from one of those old men telling stories in the village." "What does it even mean?" "Exactly," Kofi said, a little too pleased with himself for having gotten their attention. "It's about how sometimes in life, the most difficult tasks come from the things that seem simple or easy. You think you can do it without thinking, but then you realize you need great skill and caution." Isaac and Mwansa stared at him for a moment, trying to digest his words. Kofi, seeing their confusion, decided to illustrate his point with a little demonstration. "I'm going to show you how hard it can be," Kofi said with a wink. "Watch me." He grabbed a stick lying nearby and walked over to a patch of grass near the tree. The boys followed him curiously, wondering what on earth he was up to. Kofi crouched down and began to inspect the grass carefully. "What are you doing, Kofi?" Mwansa asked, still puzzled. "Patience," Kofi replied. "You'll see." After a moment of inspection, Kofi found what he was looking for, a small fly buzzing lazily around the grass. He grinned triumphantly. "Now, I'm going to catch this fly." Isaac and Mwansa exchanged glances. This wasn't exactly what they had expected. Kofi took a deep breath, his hand hovering above the fly with all the precision of a seasoned hunter. He waited for the perfect moment, his eyes narrowed with concentration. Slowly, as if performing some ancient ritual, he made his move. His hand swooped down like lightning. But the fly was quicker. It darted away, buzzing into the air. Kofi froze for a moment, his hand still in midair. The fly circled above him, taunting him with its unpredictable flight pattern. He tried again. This time, he was faster, but the fly zipped away at the last second. "This is harder than I thought," Kofi muttered under his breath. The fly was relentless, flitting around him with no care for his attempts. Each time Kofi got close, it evaded him effortlessly. Isaac couldn't help but laugh. "I told you, Kofi. You make it sound so easy, but it's not." "Shush, I'll get it," Kofi said with a determined look on his face. For what seemed like an eternity, Kofi chased the fly around in circles, his hands swiping through the air with increasing frustration. Isaac and Mwansa watched in silent amusement, occasionally chuckling at Kofi's failed attempts. Finally, after what felt like hours, Kofi's hand moved with perfect precision. He trapped the fly in his palm. "I told you," Kofi exclaimed triumphantly, holding up his hand, his fingers wrapped tightly around the small insect. "It's all about patience and control. Just like the saying goes, it requires a lot of carefulness to kill the fly that perches on the scrotum." Isaac and Mwansa stared at him, stunned into silence. Kofi opened his hand slowly, revealing the fly trapped within. Mwansa, breaking the silence, shook his head. You mean to say that was all about that fly? Yes, Kofi said, a little too proudly. It's not just about swatting at something and hoping it works. It's about being careful. You can't just rush in and expect things to go your way. You need to plan, to act with precision. Isaac raised an eyebrow. So, what does this all have to do with scrotums? Kofi smirked. It's a metaphor, Isaac. A joke, really. The scrotum is delicate, you can't just go slapping at things down there. You have to be gentle, careful. And when something is delicate, like that fly, or your scrotum, it takes a lot of skill to deal with it properly. Mwansa burst out laughing. Kofi, you really are something else. You spent all that time chasing a fly just to make a point about being careful with delicate things. Kofi shrugged, looking pleased with himself. I told you, nothing in life is as simple as it looks. And just like that fly, the tasks we think are easy are often the ones that require the most careful attention. Isaac was still chuckling. So, when I'm dealing with something delicate, I need to be more like Kofi and chase it around for hours. Exactly, Kofi said, pretending to be serious. Be patient, be precise, and most importantly, don't rush into things. Life's a lot like chasing that fly. You have to know when to act and when to wait. Mwansa shook his head in disbelief. Well, that was certainly a lesson I won't forget. But next time, Kofi, just stick to the regular schoolwork. The three boys burst into laughter, the day slipping by as they relaxed under the shade of the mango tree. They continued to joke around and tease Kofi, but one thing was clear. Sometimes, the most valuable lessons in life came not from textbooks or adults, but from a simple, mischievous game with a fly. And in the end, Kofi's point stuck. The task that seemed simple had taken far more patience and skill than any of them had imagined. Just like that delicate fly, in life, the things we take for granted often demand the most careful attention. If you find this video helpful and motivational, please like, share and subscribe to my YouTube, TikTok and Facebook page platform. You will find the links in the description of the video below. Thanks for watching and let's meet in our next video.